Okay, peeps, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over the max profit targets and local profit targets for the Grayscale trusts. So with that being said, let's get it. Okay, so if you guys have not seen the video we did previously, or well, I shouldn't say previously. If you guys are not staying up to date with everyday videos that we're doing here, I believe the video is going to come out tomorrow. Do keep a lookout for that one. That is a very, very important video. Okay. We're going to go over this extremely rare Bitcoin buy signal that just flashed recently that we've only seen, I think, 3 times since the bear market low. So go ahead and check that video out when it comes out so that way you guys can understand that we are probably getting pretty close at this point to crypto making its next big move to the upside. So anyways, let's go ahead and get into the content here. So I have the calculator pulled up. We're just basically going to go through local and max fib targets here. So we'll start with LTCN. So again, we're going to do updates on these as frequently as possible. So the first target here for LTCN, this is the local one. I'll go over the max one in a minute, is $77. Then you have 116, 154, and 176 respectively. So let's just say you got your average at the current price. We'll say it's 1860. So the local fib retracement here in this case would be 175. So we'd do 175 divided by, let's say, 1860. From this front and this front alone, you'd be looking at roughly about a 9.5x on your money. So let's just say maybe you put a couple $1,000 in. I mean, if you're in this space, if you're in finance, then, you know, I'm not going to say you should have at least a couple $1,000 to be able to invest. I mean, you guys got to understand, people that are in the finance space, generally speaking, are very disciplined with their money. So they usually have money on the side. Because again, you know, they understand finance and how it works and how to use it to their advantage. So just using a relatively small number here that I feel personally like most people could afford in finance to do. And like the old saying goes, don't invest more than you can afford to lose, right? So most people could probably afford to lose that amount of money. But anyways, the number that you would make here, just simply holding to the fib retracement, which again is not even at the previous all-time high, would be $18,800. Now, I'll go back and do a kind of a retracement here to show you guys just how far down LTCN is still from both the previous all-time high and the recent swing high. But you guys can see that this retracement here is not even a fraction of the previous all-time high. So even if it just went to $180, you would make out like a bandit with a 9.5x on just a couple thousand invested. Now I'm going to do the max fib retracement here. So this is from the very top of the previous bull market, basically the previous bull market price in 2021. So this paints an entirely different picture. You guys can see that the 175 level is really not even all that great compared to what this could do. And again, these crazy numbers up here, just understand this is absolutely possible. I myself in the previous bull market watched Dogecoin. Yes, the doggy coin, the dog coin that everybody loves, the Doge, right? With the Shiba Inu on it. But yeah, I watched Dogecoin go from 1/10 of a penny, I'm not even kidding you, to 75 cents. This thing did a 750x from the lows to the highs. And I watched the entire thing happen. So, you know, these moves here, I mean, they're huge, but even this pales it pales in comparison to something like Dogecoin. So, although getting like a 500 to 1000x or even 100x is pretty rare in crypto, it does happen. So just to show you guys that it's possible. So 2120 here, we'll just do the comparison, see what kind of returns you get. 2120 divided by 1860. So that's pretty good. You know, you get 114x if it hits the top Fibonacci retracement level. We'll go over those real quick. So 833 or 834, somewhere in there, 1320. Then you would have 1810 and roughly about 20 2100 respectively. I mean, it could, in all honesty, it could actually even go higher than these Fibonacci retracement levels. It could go even higher than that. I mean, it's possible. If Litecoin itself gets an ETF, dude, the sky's the limit. I mean, they're already talking about Solana getting one. I don't see any reason. I'm not saying that, look, I don't want Litecoin to get an ETF, okay? But what I am saying is they're talking about Solana. If that happens, then the possibility of a Litecoin ETF definitely goes up, which means the price is probably going to pump because these institutions will be buying it. So let's take those numbers real quick. We'll just say 114x, which again, this is an insane amount. Even for crypto, this is not normal. I would say what's normal on the good side of returns is probably somewhere between a 10 to a 50x. Anything above and beyond that is considered to be extraordinary. But you would basically turn $2,000 into $228,000 here, huge return. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this off, and I'm going to show you guys just how far. So to give you some context, like a lot of you probably were like, oh, I didn't get to buy on the dip. Well, the dip is here, and the question is, what are you going to do about it, I mean, when the dip comes, what are you going to do? Are you not going to buy the dip, but you're going to buy the rip? That's how retail gets wrecked in this space, just so y'all know. Trust me, I've been guilty of it too. I've been there. I can relate. Although I will say that when I did buy Bitcoin and Ethereum last cycle, I bought Bitcoin at roughly about $8,000 was the lowest point I got in, and I stopped buying at about 16,000. And then when I bought Litecoin, let's see, we had in the previous bull run, I think we had like 60 or 70 Litecoin total, averaging roughly about $55 a coin. Watched it go up to 400, got out a little too early, unfortunately, and bought out a little too high. So lesson learned on that. And in addition to that, I think we bought one Ethereum at 200, one Ethereum at 800, and then one Ethereum at like 1500. So, and as you guys know, Ethereum topped out at 4,500, so we did make some money. But LTCN itself, I mean, is still down 65.5% from the previous swing high. And if I just measure from the previous all-time high, just to show you guys how undervalued this really is, it's still down roughly about 96.5% from the previous all-time high. So even by comparison of just going back up to the all-time high, this thing is dirt cheap at this price. So let's do the same thing for BCHG. So as you guys know, neither LTCN nor BCHG has hit their all-time highs, although they certainly could now that the spot Bitcoin ETFs have been approved, and we got that buy signal that you guys will be able to see tomorrow on Bitcoin, which is a rare signal, by the way. Last time we had this, I think we were at like 28,000 on Bitcoins. So again, follow up on the video just to be sure. But so the local levels here, 33, 50, 65, and roughly about 75 respectively. So just do 75 divided by the current price, which I could just say this is $10 for simplicity's sake. So we'll go 987, so 7.6x. Again, if you put 2K in and it just goes to the swing high, which is absolutely possible, I would say if it's even likely, you'd then be looking at 15,200. I'll go ahead and zoom out here real quick so you guys can see the all-time high, which is clearly not as great as LTCN was, but still not bad in my opinion. So try to get roughly about that same number that we were just looking at here. So we have 92, 142, 100 and roughly about 190 and $220 at the swing high. Again, these fib levels, the numbers that you guys see here are based on the macro high to the macro low. We're not currently in the macro low, so that's the reason why you guys are seeing those numbers. So let's do 220 here. So 220 divided by 987. That's a huge return. I mean, that's a 22x. I think a 22x for something like Bitcoin Cash, in my opinion, is actually a great return. So again, 22.2x times 2K. You'd be looking at roughly about $44,500 here. Now, I'm also going to show you guys just how far off the all-time highs BCHG is, just to give you some context of just how incredibly cheap this thing is right now. So I go ahead and zoom down here to the current price. You can see it's still 84% off its all-time highs. That does not including going into price discovery. Obviously, it would be down much more than that at this point, which tells you just how incredibly cheap this is. So HN, I do suspect Horizon and HN are probably going to be late movers in the cycle. Maybe Q1, Q2 of next year, we'll get some pretty fat moves out of that. So I go down here to current price. You can see it's roughly still about 87% off the previous all-time highs. So get the measured move here. We'll assume that this is the swing low. I mean, it would kind of make sense. It would be at the bottom of the wedge, support, and the EMAs. So I would say the chance of this being the swing low is pretty high in my opinion. So $15, $21, $29, and $33 respectively. So we'll do 33 divided by, let's see, the current price is $427. I think the 374 is the EMA price, and then this is the actual price of HN. I always get those confused because it's the same color, but you get basically a 7.7x, which again, in my opinion, is still a good return. I mean, anything above a 5x in crypto is a home run as far as I'm concerned. So 15,400 here. Now I will do the trying to get rid of this thing. I'll do the max profit Fibonacci retracement here just so you guys can understand. And usually I do this from the market high or the bull market high to the bear market low, but in this case I'm going to adjust it because the price is different currently. So 46, 72, 99, and $115 respectively. And just understand that I think 115 is definitely possible. I don't see any reason why that can't happen. And I'm going to show you guys why I think so in a minute. So 27x times 2K, just shy of 54,000. So, for a $2,000 investment, I would say that's pretty good. So the reason why I think this is possible, again, you know what? Hold on a second. Let me see if I can try to get a different chart up here. So I need one that has a lot more history in it. Okay, here we go. So this is not perfect by any means. I don't know exactly when Horizon came out, but you guys can see that this thing basically had a big peak in 2017. Okay, it went up 1,900% from these lows at about $350 per share, and you guys can, or per token, I mean, and it came pretty much back down to the exact same price at the market lows. But in 2021, the move was bigger. Okay, this was one of those coins that actually went to new all-time highs on the following cycle, kind of like Dogecoin, and it did a 3,000x, or not 3,000x, 3,000%. So to say this thing could go even higher on the next cycle is definitely possible. So you have 3,000% there. And then you have, well, I guess 3,700% or roughly thereabouts. So if it did an extra 700%, let's say, and of course it didn't go exactly down to the lows here, but you guys can see that roughly speaking, if this thing did go up, let's say 4,400%, so another 700% on the following cycle, it would hit $210 a share. So if that happens, combined with the premiums on HSN, I do think that hitting those top fib levels is absolutely possible. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and smash through these real quick with y'all. So you can see the top fib level here pretty much lines up with support or resistance, on the local retracement. So $25, $36, and then you have $46 and $52 respectively. So that's basically just a it's pretty much about a 5x or so, I would say. So let's see, 52 divided by 11. Okay, 4.7x. That's still a good return. You put a couple $1,000 in, that's not bad. So you're looking at $9,400. That's not bad. That's pretty much what we made roughly about on Litecoin. So now I'm going to do the max one. So from here to basically about the current price, So we'll zoom out here. I mean, this gets kind of stupid at this point. You can see this is actually even higher than the bull market high to the bear market low. So we have 150, 237, 320, and about 370 respectively. We'll just call that 375. So 375 divided by 11 is a 34x if you just had a couple thousand in, which we have 1,200 in. I mean, that would still be an amazing return. So $61,000. Again, you could turn around basically the next bull market, you could turn around and do this exact same thing. Let's just say you had to pay taxes on this point. I don't know, let's say 0.25%. So 17,000 in taxes, 68,000 minus 17,000. Because make no mistake, the IRS is going to want their cut. That's just how they operate. So, but let's assume you did actually get a 34x again on the next cycle. You could just take this money, buy back in at the bear market lows if you're willing to be patient, and maybe even build up your cash position, and then boom. Even if you only got half this, I think you'd be set. So, that pretty much covers ETCG. I think ETCG is going to be a big winner this cycle because, again, of the trading of the spot Ether ETFs. ETH-E, we can't do that one anymore because it's done a conversion, unfortunately. So PhilG, I will just go ahead and give you guys the local retracement here. So I do think it's going to hit the support. That's where I'm assuming it's going to be at. You can see that the 3.618 roughly hits about the high up here. So we got 216, 320, 426, and 491 respectively. So if I just do the numbers on this, 491 divided by 60, that's 8.2x. I mean, that's still pretty good money. Do I think it stops at an 8.2x? No, I do not. I think Filecoin is going to be one of those coins. It's an AI and DePIN project and decentralized storage all in one. I think it's going to be a huge, huge winner this cycle. We would not have put our money heavily into this particular project unless we thought it was going to do really well. So 630, 960, 1,300, and then 1,520. And I mean, it's because, nobody ever really puts their money on anything they think they're going to lose on, right? You never bet on the loser. You don't go to a horse race to bet on the losing horse, right? Most people wouldn't do that. So 25.5x here, you guys can see the return would be absolutely bananas. So times that by 2K, 51,000 here on FILG. And I'm going to also go over Filecoin just to show you guys just how insane the potential returns here could be on Filecoin, because Filecoin really hasn't even moved. So there's really no telling just how far PhilG could go. You guys can see the all-time high was at $238 and the current price is only at $441. So just on the underlying token alone, just to get back to the all-time highs is, oops, I did that wrong. Sorry about that. So 238 divided by 441, just to get back to the all-time highs on Filecoin, not even PhilG or FileG, whatever people want to call it, 54x, okay? So sky is the limit on PhilG. Okay, GBAT, it's hard to say what's going to happen next week with this one. I do think it will go lower because this candle closes below these ones, but it could be a fake out. It could just be like zoop, and then it's some kind of bear trap and then just rips to the upside. I would not discount that at all. I think that's absolutely possible. So local swing to the local low here, assuming this is the low, which it could be. It could be a massive bear trap. Markets are notorious for doing stuff like that when nobody expects it. So 29, which lines up here with the previous all-time high perfectly. 42, about 55, and then 63 respectively. So 63 divided by the current price, 743. You're talking roughly about an 8.5x on this. So that's, in my mind, that's still a pretty good return. I mean, I would not be upset about that. 17K on GBAT. Again, you guys can see up here that we are using the basic attention token browser, or the BAT the Brave browser, I think is what it's called. Yeah, the Brave browser. So that's actually a product of the basic attention token. So 48, let's see, 74 and 100 and then 116. I do think this is absolutely possible. As a matter of fact, if I'm being honest, these altcoins tend to do way bigger returns than people really expect. I think 116 is actually quite low. So 15.6 here in terms of returns, or 1,560%, would still be a nice return, roughly about 31,200. Okay, GLIV. I'm going to assume that the lows are probably going to be at this candle low down here. I say that because, again, this is a pretty fat red candle. It is sitting at these lows, which means it could bounce. But, I mean, this candle is huge, so it wouldn't surprise me if it did actually dip just a little bit lower. So let's go ahead and do this real quick. So you're looking at roughly $71, $109, $144, and $165 respectively on the local side of things. So 165 divided by 21.5 here, a 7.7x. Again, I still think that's really good. I think when the all season happens, people's minds are going to be completely blown by just how insane some of these returns are going to be. Even the most bullish expectations that I'm giving you guys here could actually be undershooting the possibility of just how massive of an all season we might see. Because again, we've never had presidents talking about trying to adopt Bitcoin. This is the first time it's ever happened in history. Even Trump didn't talk about doing it last time he was president. So 15.4K here on this one. And we'll just go from basically the all-time high at this point to the local lower, where I think the local low is going to be roughly about 118, 185, 250, and 290. So yeah, those are some pretty insane numbers, but can it go above 290? Absolutely. I do think that's 100% possible. A 13.5x, I mean, that's great. That's a great return in my mind in anything. It doesn't matter what it is. So 27K here. Okay, G-Link, this one's very popular. I'm going to say that I think that likely where this candle is sitting currently is probably the low for this thing. I don't think it goes lower than that. Could I be wrong about that? Absolutely, but I just don't think it's going to go lower than that. So on the local level, we have 187, 266, 345, and 390 respectively. And I do think Chainlink is one of those projects that may get an ETF talked about at some point in the future. I can't say that with certainty, but I suspect this is one of those projects that they might be looking at. So 11,400 here. And again, I don't know anything, with these institutions or anything like that. I'm just throwing my assumption out there that's based on a hunch. But it's a pretty popular project. It would not surprise me at all if that happened. So 330, 480, 637, and 731. What I will say is I think it's not likely to happen this cycle. I think so 10.75x. I think if they do ETFs, they'll probably stop at a Solana ETF. If they even do a Solana ETF, I don't think they're going to go above and beyond that. And then they'll probably wait till the next bull market cycle to do maybe more of them. Once they see, once they're able to see if they're popular and they work and stuff like that, then maybe once some time of adoption has taken place, they might look at maybe other altcoins to do ETFs for. So 2,000 or 21,500 here. So GSOL, this one is interesting to say the least. So I'm pretty much just going to measure this one way. That's from the all-time high to the swing low, because again, we're pretty much almost at the all-time high. So it's almost kind of pointless to do like a fractional move here. So 856, 1250, 1670, and 19, we'll just call that 1920 respectively. So 1920 divided by the current price, basically a 3.8x, we'll just call it that. Not as good as some of the others, but you guys got to understand, if you wanted the biggest returns, the ideal place to get in would have been down here at these support levels. So 7,600 is still not a bad return for a couple $1,000 investment. Again, if you do that in stocks, you probably have to get into some kind of penny stock that's a hot topic like SoundHound or something like that to get that kind of return. And you would also have to wait for some kind of swing low in order to get the maximum potential upside here. Okay, so we're going to do a double on this one. So swing high to swing low. And this is for the Stellar Lumens Trust. So 96, 138, 180, and 207. We did actually have some Stellar Lumens in the last cycle, just so you all know. We didn't have that much of it, but we did have some. Again, a lot of these crypto exchanges didn't have nearly as many altcoins available to buy during the last cycle as they did this cycle. I think Coinbase had like maybe a dozen or 15. Now they have like 100 or more. So a lot has changed since then. So we'll just round this up, call it a 6.7x times 2,000. 13,400, so that's pretty good. I mean, you could do a lot with that kind of money even after taxes, right? All right, so from the swing high up here, let's say to the swing low, or I should say the all-time high to the swing low, it definitely makes it a lot more of a return. So 138, 204, 272, and 316 respectively. So 316 divided by 31, basically a 10.2x. Again, that's pretty good money. I mean, shoot, we're really only looking for about an 8 to 10x total return on our native crypto portfolio. So, if we get that, we'll be happy. Anything above and beyond that is icing on the cake. So to get a 10x on one of these, in my mind, is pretty good. So 20,400. Just so you all know, Tom Lee, who's notoriously well known for his extremely accurate future predictions. The guy's like a psychic or something. He has stated that he thinks that the S&P is going to be at 5,800 by the end of the year, even though we just recently had a sell-off. So in my mind, again, we're pretty bullish on the markets going into the end of the year. I think likely we're probably going to get a rip instead of a dump on both stocks and crypto. So it would not shock me if some of these prices came true sooner than expected. Okay, so you can see this fib level here is lower than these, but we'll just go over it anyway. So 45, 65, 84, and 96 respectively on mana. So 96 divided by 15 is a 6.4x. So that's actually pretty good. So 6.4x times 2,000, 12,800. Now we'll do the max level one. And we're going to keep doing this every week or every couple of weeks for you guys, just so you can stay up to date with potential max profit targets and stuff like that. So 106, 159, 217, and then 250 respectively. So 250 divided by 15. And I think that Mana is one of those projects that could easily go more than 250. I mean, it is a metaverse project. So, and it's also gaming. It would not shock me if this thing did another crazy run, like maybe not a 200x, but on the underlying, but maybe like a 100, 120x. I wouldn't be shocked. So 33,300 here on the max return. And again, this is for a relatively small amount. This is not for people. Well, I mean, you can put in whatever amount you want. I'm just picking a conservative amount that I think that most people could probably afford. So local high to local low here. You have $9, $12.70, $16.20, and $18.60 respectively. So we'll go $18.60 divided by the current price. Again, Zcash is dirt cheap at this point, the underlying and the trust. We do have some actual Zcash, just so you all know, 3.9 times 2,000, roughly about $7,800, so not bad. All right, now let's take a look at that max level, which this is kind of crazy. It really sucks that these things came out at the end of the bull market, it's almost kind of like they were hoping people would buy in just so they could dunk on their heads. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm not saying anything at all. I'm just simply saying that it just